Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you had a wonderful Diwali. You had good holidays. You're all safe, healthy, happy during these challenging times. Good afternoon, Shikha. Thanks for having me here. My name is Sunil Gupta, and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Yota Infrastructure, which you know is a Hirannani Group company. Before beginning my today's address on ever agile and always available banking, I would like to quote Reserve Bank of India Governor Sri Shaktikant Das. He says, the changing landscape of banking industry will unfold in the backdrop of a strong regulatory and supervisory regime with increased intensity and tech-enabled supervision of banks. The challenge before banks is to make best use of technology and innovation to bring down intermediation costs while protecting their bottom lines. This statement, as you can see, has a strong focus on technology and innovation. This is what will help the banks to keep pace with changing needs of their ever-changing customers, to bring agility in their responses to these dynamic changes, to bring down their costs, to get operational efficiencies in the long run, and most importantly, to be available to their users 100% of the time without any downtime, come what may. I think you can understand the context, what I'm trying to refer to. The way we all, you and me, have experienced banking over the years has evolved considerably. Possibly till about 2000, physical bank branches were the visible and de facto representation of the bank. They were the most preferred ones by the customers. Face-to-face interactions took place. But from 2000 to 2009, we know the ATMs took over, started coexisting with bank branches, giving a huge push to ease for doing banking anytime, may not be anywhere, but surely at many places, but still needing us to go to a defined physical location, which gave the look and feel of a bank. 2010 onwards till today, banking has started going digital, opening up many avenues and channels of doing banking. Multiple digital intermediaries have come up, and our mobile, along with the various apps residing on this mobile, have practically become the representation of a bank for us. We can now access banking services truly round the clock, truly from anywhere in the world. The forthcoming 5 years, we can call them post-COVID, will further change and evolve the way people undertake digital transactions. We are already witnessing and shall continue to witness things like eKYC, video KYC, digital cards, artificial intelligence-based surveillance, compliances, and customer services, and of course, more and more options for mobile-based digital payments. Another phenomena we see is that this sector is undergoing tough times, with NPAs and resultant capital adequacy and liquidity issues coming in regular academic and media debates. Driven by all these challenges and much more, the sector is witnessing consolidations of various banks, especially in public sector, to create few large-scale banks with global scales, operational efficiencies, and best technological and operational practices. Another phenomena, cooperative banks and thousands of small banks operating in hinterlands are not able to bring the same controls and efficiencies in their operations as their bigger brethren, scale up and meet up the expectations of their much aware younger generation customers, not because of anything else, but simply because they are not able to invest in and adopt the same digital infrastructure which their bigger counterparts possess. By the way, as another development, we also now see that large corporate houses may also be permitted to set up banks, extending the breadth and reach of banking services in the country further. All these contexts I'm referring to, they look very different from each other, but yet they are very similar. They bring in the need and importance of an ever agile and always available banking digital infrastructure. We have been hearing these terms, agility and availability, all these years. However, with changing times, the meaning of agility and availability have also evolved. As much as this statement of mine may be a cliche statement, but it is true that today a CIO is no longer just an IT enabler, but is looked upon as a business challenge solver. And as the business challenges presented to him or her are, number one, being able to scale up, or if required, scale down during tough times at any moment of time. It's a big requirement. Being able to adopt newer and better technologies at any moment of time. Being able to be cost efficient. Being able to remain 100% available to its users no matter what during steady states, during most adverse scenarios like COVID imposed lockdowns, and also during the time when technological migrations are taking place. Being very fast to market and bring newer products and services, and being able to experiment with newer technologies without having to spend a bomb on the same. So what does the BFSI CIO do to manage these challenges and make themselves an ever agile and always available bank? To start with, and possibly most importantly, focusing on the core place where their digital infrastructure stays and does all this digital magic, their data center. And don't take me wrong, when I say data center, it is not just that imposing brick and mortar building with huge amount of power, cooling, physical security, and thick fiber connectivity, but also all the IT infrastructure resources and service layer like cloud, it brings along and delivers on a as a service model. Basically, what I'm referring to now as data center is something which delivers you anything on a service model, anything which supports your digital banking and banking in general. Earlier, you had captive cloud data centers. Then co-location came into your lives, allowing you to focus on your core business and to reduce your costs. But now, with the mission criticality of the banks and the mission criticality of digital banks increasing like anything, the focus now has shifted to a real, redundant, resilient, and scalable co-location. A co-location which can sustain any single point of failure, which is truly fault tolerant, which is resilient in all respects, be it its electrical infrastructure, cooling infrastructure, building structure, accessibility from multiple roads and paths, fiber redundancies, 48 hours or more of fuel so that in the scenario like Mumbai lockdown, the data center keeps on running, stay facility for employees should there be a big lockdown. All these things have become not like luxury, but the basic necessities of a good data center. In this light, and learning from what has happened in the last 2 days with one of the most prominent banks in the country, what has happened with one of the largest cloud companies in not so distant past in India itself, and learning from many such examples in the past, I would say whether you are hosted at your own captive data center or whether you are hosted in a third-party data center, you need to seriously go into audit of your data center in terms of its fault tolerance. Additionally, it should be able to scale up to any levels and deliver you the rack and power capacity even after 25 years as per the scaling needs of the bank, because mergers and acquisitions and consolidations will keep on happening in your bank. It should also allow you to scale down without any capital or operational cost implications. And while it gives you the top tier quality and scalability as a de facto hygiene, it also gives you the benefit of economies of scale to reduce your long-term cost. That is what your CEO and CFO also ask you for. Let's go beyond colo. Given a choice, we all know, given a choice and a magic wand, you may want to wish away your corporate data center. You may want to wish away your legacy technologies and move over to public cloud environment where the availability, redundancy, security, and scalability of the underlying IT infrastructure is all taken care of, is available to you as a hygiene, and you can focus your energies on understanding and solving your real business issues and challenges at application and business process layer. But as you know, this is not a real life scenario. In real life, you need to ensure that maximum juice is extracted from your capex invested hardware before that is pronounced obsolete and you get into a refresh cycle. And when you do get into that cycle, you face your CEO and CFO who demand OPEXization of costs, who demand reduced cost, but at the same time, they want you to scale up anytime the resources to take benefit of newer business avenues or technological advancements. And you need to take care of running the business, avoiding any single point of failure or any minute of downtime, even while you are migrating from one technological environment like bare metal or captive to a public cloud or a private cloud or a hybrid cloud. Most optimum utilization of resources while maintaining fullest corporate security is something you will associate with private cloud. As much resources on demand and pay as you use and cost efficiencies is something which you will associate with public cloud. So an ideal solution for you may not be just a hybrid cloud, what I call as a hybrid IT infrastructure, where co-location, hosted private cloud and public cloud coexist, and you are able to continuously choose and plan the appropriate timeframes to migrate from one environment to another without any downtimes, while keeping lower your overall cost, your long-term scalability and security posture of the organization under constant consideration. This ideal solution also calls for an overarching and transparent governance and monitoring orchestration layer for you to track, monitor, and manage the health of your physical and virtual assets on a real-time basis, irrespective of whether that assets are owned by you in a co-location model, or they have been given to you by a service provider on a private cloud model, or whether those assets are virtual assets in a public cloud. And with all this available to you on a plain subscription-based services model. With emerging technologies, onboarding and enhancing user experience has also evolved. With artificial intelligence and machine learning gaining prominence, banks can meet compliance and regulatory requirements without compromising on security and spending enormous amount of money into related technology. Solutions like this delivered on a services model have made these advanced technologies accessible to banks of all the sizes, something that could earlier would have been implemented only by a handful of large banks. First example of this being the use of video KYC as a service, where at a fraction of the cost, you can adopt this technology and start onboarding customers sitting in remotest part of the country, thus increasing your business, improving your efficiencies, improving your compliances, and of course, promoting an all-inclusive banking. Another example is reconciliation, where the most critical process, which is the most critical process of a bank. Manual reconciliation we know is tedious and subject to errors. With the advent of AI and other tools, this solution is also now available as a machine-driven solution and also on a as-a-service model. This technology delivered on a pay-as-you-use consume model thus provides speed, scalability, volume, and accuracy with an automated and integrated approach, meeting the compliance requirements more securely while still getting delivered to you on an as-a-service model, keeping your cost low and making itself available to banks of all sizes. My third example of this is anti-money laundering. Frauds of all sizes have plagued the industry. With automated and AI-powered solutions, one can today do a risk modeling of a prospect, continuously monitor risks, identify suspicious transactions, and money laundering attempts. This solution can be used by various surrounding services like payment systems like SWIFT, ACH, money, mobile money, exchange house transactions, etc., or treasury functions and demat services. This can also be tailored to accommodate specific requirements of different types of organizations in the banking domain. This technology can now be delivered on a pay-as-you-consume model, thus again providing you a safety net with an automated integrated approach, still keeping your costs low and making itself available to banks of all sizes. In the end, let me summarize what I've said so far. Banking has come a long way. It shall go a long way. With growth come expectations. With expectations come challenges. Challenges of scalability, security, availability, continuous innovation, efficiency, and agility. While outsourcing to a data center may be a proven concept to deliver many of these promises, the performance frameworks of the past for such outsourced data centers for measuring the success or failure of the same may not apply anymore. You need much more. 100% availability come what may. Long-term scalability come what may. Tangible reduction in costs come what may. Being able to deliver not just co-location, but also every single resource and service which supports your banking, including various types of clouds and also newer promising services like video KYC, AML, Recon, and many others based on AI/ML and on a services model. Thank you very much for listening to me patiently. I sincerely hope that I'm able to do justice to the time you gave to me. Thank you very much again. God bless you all. Thank you.